Nurse J again at Nursing the Truth. I hope everything's going well for you guys today. This is my second video of today, and I hope you go watch the earlier video about Tacitus and him in on the Bible joke with Josephus and Pliny the Younger. You know, I always like to talk about Josephus and the gang. So, where's this going to lead us today, friends? Well, as I've told you before, Josephus was a pen name of Arrius Calpurnus Piso. And, you know, it's a web. It's a matrix that we're in, friends, and we have to get out. We all have to have our mind cleared, and we have to think for ourselves. So, Arrius Calpurnus Piso had many names. Cessianus Paetus, Montanus, Arrius Antonius, Arrius Verus, Annius Gallus, Cestus Gallus, Gessius Florus, Antonius Primus, and Josephus. So, with one of the names, and I'm going somewhere with this, as far as Arrius Verus, Varus. As I said, Tacitus was a little bit younger than Josephus, and Tacitus was in the Roman Senate and a consul and a governor. And so Josephus / Arrius Piso knew Tacitus very well. Cornelius Priscus is the real name. Or I think his other name was called Neritus. So, the name Verus is the Roman form of the Egyptian word veru, V-E-R-U, which meant great men or an individual great man. He was also of the great Roman family, the Annianaci or Annus or Arius are the same. And he, Arrius Piso, also the founder of the Annivari, using the royal language one sees in the alias name that was used, Severus. Excuse me. Arrius Verus, the vowels were interchangeable, and the form Arrius is given a vowel E to bind it to Verus, thus rendering Severus. This is a name used by Arrius Piso's son, Julius Piso, as a commander of the Roman forces against the Jews in the Bar Kokhba revolt. Wow, isn't this something? Arrius Calpurnus Piso / Josephus was in on the behind the scenes of Vespasian Titus in the first Roman Jew war, and then his son Julius is a commander of the Roman forces against the Bar Kokhba revolt in 130. It was either 132 to 134 or 134 to 136 CE. Like father, like son. Now, Tacitus, he says, as Antonius hurried forward some dispatchments from the cohorts and part of the cavalry to invade Italy, he was accompanied by Arrius Verus. He was accompanied by Arrius Verus in the instance because he was one and the same person. Naturally, wherever Antonius Primus went, Arrius Verus was sure to go. So they are the same person. In the same passage, Tacitus says, however, Antonius and Verus occupied Aquileia. Yes, they were both there in one place and in one body. Another interesting thing that Tacitus does is to call Antonius Primus, Primus Antonius. One would think the purpose that Tacitus had in mind was to further confuse or confound the reader into thinking that he is speaking of two different persons, just as he does in calling Aris Piso several different alias names. He is very actively participating in the fraud. Yes, because reading all these people that I've read, they do try to confuse you. So, the reason why I gave you that little backdrop of the names or the pen names or the alias names of Aris Calpurnus Piso is because not only in Suetonius, Tacitus, Pliny, and even the famous Josephus himself uses all of these fake names as the one and only. In Tacitus books, I think it's book 5 in his histories. It's talking about the Roman Jew War. Excuse me. And he was talking about how the Roman control of Judea was first established by Pompey, and that he came in and did things to the temple, and the walls of Jerusalem were dismantled, and the shrine remained intact though. And during the civil war, which then afflicted the Roman world, the eastern provinces passed under the control of Mark Antony, and Judea was conquered by the Parthian king Pacorus. So isn't this interesting? Judea was conquered by Parthian. But the invader was killed by Publius Ventinidus, and the Parthians driven back across the Euphrates. So Iran came, conquered, but then the Roman Publius was defeated, and they went back across the Euphrates, while Gaius Sausius brought the Jews to heel. Antony gave the kingdom to Herod, and it was enlarged by the now victorious Augustus. Okay, so Julius Caesar dies, and Augustus was there right after him. So that's why you get the Rome and Parthian wars all the time. They kept fighting back and forth for the different territories. No different than today, friends. Iran is still pissed off at the Roman Empire. So, now this is very interesting. So bear with me, friends. At Herod's death, we're talking about Herod the Great. He died in 4 BCE. And now this isn't Tacitus now, he's telling us something. At Herod's death, without waiting for the imperial decision. See, it was Rome that placed people in the province that they wanted. Okay? And everybody in the Roman province were under Rome. And the people that they put there, you had to listen to them. So when Herod the Great dies, and before an imperial decision was made to be the next king of the Jews, because see, Herod the Great was called King of the Jews. A certain Simon usurped the title of King of Israel. He was dealt with by the governor of Syria, Quintilius Varus. What did I just tell you? The names, the alias names of Arius Calpurnus Piso / Josephus. His name was Varus. And you remember Nero's father, Josephus's father, the Piso that Nero had. He told him to commit suicide in 65. And Nero banished the Pisos and Josephus and made him governor of Syria. But see, the Pisos already had a long-standing family history of ruling Syria because they were called the Little Caesars because they just had as much right to rule Rome as the actual Julian Claudian dynasty. And the Pisos were always trying to hijack the throne. But in the end, they still got the throne through the bloodlines that are ruling today. So backing up. So you had this certain Simon guy. King Herod kicks the bucket. He's running around. And he says he is the king of Israel. And he was dealt with by the governor of Syria, Varus, while the Jews were disciplined and divided up into 3 kingdoms ruled by Herod's sons. In Tiberius's reign, all was quiet. Well, how come that was? In Tiberius's reign, all was quiet. That means nothing was disturbed and nothing was going on. Everybody was quiet. Was there really a Messiah running around causing havoc? Makes you wonder. Then rather than put up a statue of Gaius Caesar in the temple as they had been ordered, the Jews flew to arms, though the rebellion came to nothing owing to the assassination of the emperor. That was Caligula. As for Claudius, he took advantage of the death of Caligula, or declining fortunes of the Jewish kings, to commit the government of the province to Roman knights or freed men. One of these, Antonius Felix, played the tyrant with the spirit of a slave, plunging into all manner of cruelty and lust, and marrying Drusilla, granddaughter of Cleopatra and Antony. This meant that while Claudius was Antony's grandson, Felix was his grandson by marriage. Okay. So who is this Simon that Tacitus is talking about and Josephus Arius Calpurnus Piso. See, he's already pissed off at this man already. Josephus, as Arius is telling you about this man that wants to be king. No, you can't be king because I want to be king. And it's funny because the two people that talk about this situation, because I can't find it in Suetonius's or Pliny's, but in 4 BCE, King Herod dies immediately. There were several revolts. Nothing was going right. And his son, Herod Archelaus, and one of the rebels was Simon of Perea, who claimed the kingship for himself. The fact that he was a slave is of no importance because slaves could be highly educated and civilized people as well. Now, in the books, it says that there was also Simon, who had been a slave of King Herod, but in other respects, a comely person. Didn't they say Jesus was a very comely person? Good to look at. Tall and a robust body. He was one that was much superior to others of his order and had had great things committed to his care. This man was elevated at the disorderly state of things and was so bold as to put a diadem on his head, while a certain number of the people stood by him, and by them he was declared to be king, and he thought himself more worthy of that dignity than any one else. He burnt down the royal palace at Jericho and plundered what was left in it. He also set fire to many other of the king's houses in several places of the country, utterly destroyed them, and permitted those that were with him to take what was left in them for a prey. He would have done greater things, but care was taken to repress him immediately. The commander of Herod's infantry, Gratus, joined himself to the Roman soldiers, took the forces he had with him, and met Simon. And after a great and long fight, no small part of those that had come from Perea, a disordered body of men, fighting rather in a bold than in a skillful manner, were destroyed. Although Simon had saved himself by flying away through a certain valley, Gratus overtook him and cut off his head. Tacitus heard about this incident too, because he writes, at Herod's death, without waiting for imperial decision, a certain Simon usurped the title of king. He was dealt with by the governor of Syria, Varus, while the Jews were divided up into the 3 kingdoms ruled by Herod's son. Simon of Perea may have put a diadem on his head, and his men must have created sufficient trouble to make the Romans send in the legions, but there are no indications that he was considered the Messiah. Okay, let's look at something else. I thought I also saw, hang on guys. Well, I know I saw it here. But anyway, isn't that interesting friends. Let's look at something. Perea. P-E-R-E-A or P-E-R-A-E-A in Wikipedia. So if you have Simon of Perea. So that was the portion of the kingdom of Herod the Great, occupying the eastern side of the Jordan River. From about 1/3 the way down the Jordan River segment connecting to the Sea of Galilee and Dead Sea is to about 1/3 way down the northeastern shore of the Dead Sea. So Herod Antipas received both Perea and Galilee. And then in 39, Perea and Galilee were transferred from Antipas to Agrippa the One by Caligula. Now, isn't that funny? Josephus also said about Perea, much larger indeed than Galilee, is general desert and rugged, and too wild for the growth of delicate fruits. In length, it extends from Machaerus to Pella. So this area, Perea, it extends from Machaerus to Pella in breadth from Philadelphia to Jordan. All of that is Nabatean land. Nazarenes, maybe John the Baptist, quote, got his head cut off at Machaerus, the palace of Machaerus. So this man gave Josephus hell. And he went up against the Roman Empire as the king. Just like everyone else, a zealot for the law, zealous for the law, nationalistic, Zionist. They want it their way or no way, or you can hit the highway. And they got killed for it. So tell me what you think about this Simon of Perea, close to the Sea of Galilee. Became a king and took the diadem for himself and put it on his head. And had people behind him fighting against the Roman legions. The Messiah of Israel. Until then, Hotep and Ashe. And we'll see you next time, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends and family about me. And you're learning history day to day. See you later, guys. Goodbye.